everyone, Chelsea O Studio here, and today we are starting with color theory. Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are starting our series on color theory. I get a lot of requests to do painting tutorials, and I feel like color theory, besides the tools that you need, is the next basic thing that you need in order to be able to actually paint successfully. Because if you don't know how to mix colors, how are you going to paint? In this first video of our color theory series, we're going to be talking about two particular color schemes. But before we do that, we've got to kind of figure out what color theory even is. What is color theory? Well, the long definition is that color theory is a body of practical guidance to color mixing and the visual effects of a specific color combination. That's a really long, drawn-out way of saying that it's basically how you mix colors and how you use color schemes. In this video, I'm going to start with just the two most basic color schemes, which are primary colors and secondary colors. Primary colors are really special because they can't be created by mixing any other colors. No matter how hard you try, you can't make these three colors. Okay? They're the base for every other color out there. The primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Secondary colors are what you can create with the primary colors. The secondary colors are green, orange, and purple. So you get green by mixing yellow and blue, orange by mixing red and yellow, and purple by mixing red and blue. Now I know this seems like it's easy. I do. But somebody out there isn't gonna know this. I once had a student ask me if you make orange by mixing red and white. So now that you know the basics, you're probably thinking, why should I even know this? I want to use whatever colors I want. Well, yes, I agree with you. You definitely want to use colors that you're drawn to, but if you ever want to be able to paint, you've got to know how to mix colors. And if you want to mix colors, you've got to know all this information. Not only does color theory help you in art making, but knowing these basic color theory principles and color schemes can help you in other parts of your life. Like when you're trying to put together what you're going to wear, when you're trying to decorate your house, when you're trying to design your car interior. All of these things can benefit from a little bit of knowledge about color theory. So to be able to use color schemes properly, you're going to want to know these words. The first word is hue. So hue is just the color. It is red, green, blue. It's the name of the color. That's what it is. If something has a blue hue, then it looks like it has a bluish look to it. Another word you can use for hue is local color. So as I said before, if someone's trying to draw a tree and they draw it with the most vivid green that they have, they're using local color. The next word is value. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. Range of value is insanely important. It's how you get contrast, it's how you get visual interest, and it's how you take the color schemes from this to this. Using these three words can help you guys take your artwork to the next level. For example, if you wanted to use a primary color palette, instead of using the local color of just red, yellow, and blue, or the basic hue, red, yellow, and blue, you could do a very, very deep red. Maybe you want a local blue to give it some pop, and then you can use a yellow that is so pale, it's almost white. But technically it's still a primary color scheme. Same thing goes for secondary colors. So if you wanted to create an artwork that has a lot of visual interest, you could come up with a color scheme that has a more burnt, dusty looking orange, a lighter olive green, and a really deep purple. And you would get something that looks like this. So that's basically how you can use the primary and secondary colors to your advantage. I'll talk about how that helps you mix colors in a future video, so stay tuned for this color mixing series. What I want to do now is actually create an artwork out of these two color schemes for you guys so that you can see what I'm talking about and you can see these tips and tricks in practice. Hey guys, so for this drawing I chose to draw Vanya from Umbrella Academy. I chose her because I thought the reference picture was really cool and it already had 2 of the 3 primary colors in it, so that made it a little easier. I chose a little bit of a muted blue for the skin tone, maybe not muted but lighter blue on the blue spectrum. And then a very pale pink to start with that slowly fades into a bright red on the side of her face. I put the same red underneath her nose and her eyes. Pink is in the red spectrum, so I added pink details all around, including in the hair. I chose a really deep dark navy blue for the hair because this character has really dark black hair, but I'm trying to stay in my primary color palette, so I only used different types of blue, red, and yellow. I added some of that dark blue to the eyes to just give her that dark eyeshadowy look. And then I started shading in the lips. I used pink, but I also went over the lips with a little bit of blue just to give them a little contrast compared to the skin. And then I went in with a white pen. Because the paper's white, I don't feel like it's a problem to use the white. I went back with a different darker blue that I have for the suit and the shadows under the violin. I made a mistake, so I went and fixed it with a white pen. And then I started shading the face with a little bit of a darker blue, not too dark, but just a little bit, adding in some more textures to the face itself and then brightening those eyes again. Drinking my coffee. Then I started shading the hands. I really loved how these came out. That hand on the right is probably my favorite hand that I've drawn in a really long time. So I shaded each individual finger, going from a very light pink to that vibrant red again. The red is so red it looks kind of pink. I did use some pinks, but the brightest red in this piece is actually red. Finished adding colors for the highlights of the suit and the tie, then went in and smoothed out those edges, just fixing up the suit now. Making a couple of final adjustments before I move on to the violin. This was a music stand that I filled in really dark blue so that it looked black. And then the black part of the violin is actually in that same dark blue from the suit. I was careful to leave spaces for the strings, and then I accidentally colored the thing on the bottom of the violin that holds the strings, so you'll see me fix that later. Coloring the bow with a red, made the bow strings a very light yellow, and then started adding a red to the violin. It's funny, our brains tell us that the violin is brown, so when I rewatched this, I thought that was brown, but that is actually the Copic marker R37, which is carmine red. I chose to use Copic markers because it doesn't take as long for me to draw in Copics, mostly because I don't have to color mix. And since we were talking about just basic color palettes, the marker collection that I have had everything I needed. Then I went to the background with diagonal yellow strokes since I didn't use a whole lot of yellow in the actual piece itself. And around the edges I wanted to soften it a little bit, so I went in with a really light red and just followed the strokes of the yellow. And here this one is done. You can see that it's definitely primary colors. The color palette you choose doesn't always have to be this in your face, just like the examples that I gave earlier, but I felt like it worked well with this piece compared to my reference picture. Now we're looking at secondary colors. I am drawing Klaus, another character from Umbrella Academy. Umbrella Academy Season 2 just came out, and I'm still pretty stoked about it, although these are scenes from Season 1. I chose a light orange for the ear. I think it was pretty successful. Here I'm adding the purple on the right side of the face. I go in with a lighter purple and steadily make my way darker. I really wanted to put a lot of emphasis on the eyes, so I made sure both eyes had a lot of purple around them. And then I went super dark with the purple on the side of the face, just to add a lot of contrast. I'm just slowly darkening, slowly layering, building up these colors with these markers. I tried to color his eyebrows and facial hair orange, but in the end I didn't like how it looked, so I ended up going over that again with a dark purple. Filling in the lips, I will go back to them. I didn't get a good range of value. So I go over the eyes with purple, and I realize this is a mistake later, and I do turn them green. I hadn't actually used green throughout most of this, and I didn't notice that I hadn't used green until I got way further along. Finishing off the skin areas with the hand at the bottom that's holding the umbrella. Now I'm coloring the rest of his hair with purple, and then I'll go in with a darker purple and adding some orange because I wanted it to be even darker and it wasn't getting there, but the orange really pushed it over the edge. And then using some quick strokes with the brush side of the marker, I just kind of scribbled in the hair for the coat, and I think that gave it a nice texture. And now I'm doing the same to the other side. I really enjoyed doing the coat, even though it was a little bit tedious. I'm not a huge fan of tedious. Here I am fixing the eyes, and now I'm starting the umbrella. This is the point where I realized, oh crap, I have to use green. Where am I going to use it? So instead of having it just be a white and pink umbrella, I decided to do a green and pink umbrella. So that was the closest to pink that I could get, and then I shaded in the corners with a deep purple to give it some range of value. That part I'm working on is the hair through the umbrella, which I'll layer over with a green later. And now I'm just doing the transparent part of the umbrella, a green. And that's where I colored over the hair to make it look like you could see it a little bit through those green panels. Just trying to make these big areas smooth. And now I'm adding water droplets with a darker green. I think they actually came out pretty good. And I do the same to the ring around the edge of the umbrella. Cleaning up a couple areas, trying to decide on the background while I do these. I thought I was going to do something similar to what I did with Vanya's background, but I ended up not liking it, which you'll see right here, and just coloring over it with a different green. And now I'm just using a white marker to add some highlights, add the smoke. Unfortunately, it started to die on me, so I tried to switch markers. Couldn't find one that worked. Adding some more final details and darkening the eyes again because I didn't think they were dark enough. There's the marker that won't work. So I just decided, whatever, I'll just make it look like I lightened it by making everything else super dark. And it worked. Now adding the white to the lips. And there you have it. This is what it looks like at the end. I really enjoyed doing this color palette. I'm not usually a fan of secondary colors outside of Halloween time, but I think for this character in this specific situation, it worked. So you can tell that in both of these drawings, I used a very limited color palette, but they're still really visually interesting. I could have made these even more subtle if I was using watercolors. I could have made everything super desaturated and pale if I wanted to, but that's just not what I was going for. I will be putting these drawings in my store either today or tomorrow, so if you would like to own one of these original artworks, let me know. And you can tell me in the comments if you think I should make these into a print. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please make sure you like and subscribe down below so that you don't miss any of my future videos. I'll be doing a lot more videos in this series of color theory, and we're gonna start here at the basics, just like we did in this video, and steadily get to the more complex parts of color theory to help you become the best artist that you can be. I definitely want you guys to head over to my website because I am doing an amazing promotion right now for the month of August, and I have limited spaces available for that. And while you're there, take some time to check out my print club, check out my store, and find something that brings you joy. And then if you want to see all the behind the scenes and all the fun stuff that happens throughout my day and meet my dogs and all that good stuff, then you can follow me on Instagram at chelsea.o.studio. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye!